Hello. Welcome to today's preview for the 20th anniversary set. I am Josh King, and then of course we have Woodrow and Vic up top here. And we will be previewing for you the elf, whatever he may be. So we just thought we'd hop on here, give you a quick intro into the design as we three worked on the design of the 20th anniversary set. And we thought we'd tell you a little bit about ourselves as well, our intro into Warlord, etc. I'll go first as far as starting into Warlord. I started sometime between Heroes Gambit and Dragon's Fury. Dragon's Fury was my first pre-release ever, basically, of I think probably any card game. To be honest, I'd played Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh when I was younger, and decided to play Warlord instead because it's clearly better. And I went on from there. Didn't play a lot during 4E because I didn't have the time or the money, and I've been playing a ton ever since then. So I play all the time.
And it's worth noting you're one of the babies of the community.
I am also one of the babies of the community. I am a whopping 28 years old, which is, I think, pretty low on the curve. But yeah, Vic, you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah, I've actually been gaming for a decade longer than Josh has been alive. I got into Magic when within a year of it first coming out, and so on and so forth, and was a big D&D player, among other role-playing games. And in 2001, like half the role players in existence, I was playing 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons, and I had a subscription to Dragon magazine. My DM had a subscription to Dragon and to Dungeon magazine. And March or April of that year, John Zinzer's glorious marketing brilliance, his baby, dropped demo decks for Warlord on us. And the DM said to all of us, he knew I played CCGs. He asked the others in our group if they were interested. It's like, hey, we got these demo decks. Let's play a few games. And so we did. And I was hooked. He eventually dropped out, gave me his cards. But, oh yeah, he's even got one of the scries still in the plastic. So yeah, I found a few guys at the local game store that played it, and got involved with those guys. Eventually moved to a different part of the country, and found that one of my friends there worked for AG as a volunteer on the story team for 7th Sea, which meant he was familiar with Warlord and aware of Warlord, and so he and I started playing regularly. And then eventually I started playing at the game stores and everything else, and actually bothering to go to the Temple of Lore and get involved with that. And I gravitated towards the rules forum, asking questions, answering questions, figuring out card interactions and things like that. And in 2006,
God bless you.
I can't remember if it was Mike Lear or Todd Rowland that asked me if I would be the rules guy, taking over for Mark Eamers, who was too busy with little ones to keep doing it. And I have been rules guy ever since.
And we love you for it.
Well, it doesn't hurt recently that I also have programming chops, which explains why I get driven towards things like rules and focusing on that and card templating and stuff. But I discovered Josh's brother. I always get it wrong because I can never remember if it's Daniel or David.
Daniel
did the awesome service to the community of creating the Accordlands website. And back in November, I figured out how I could make modifications to the card file so that we could get our erratas in to the card text and fix some typos that had existed since the days of the Temple, spoiler. And so, yeah, I actually threw some of my programming chops at that, and wrote a program to go through and add the Saga tag to all the cards that needed it, and regenerate the file. And
that was crucial to this event.
That was absolutely crucial.
Yeah, very important.
So yeah, I really love the Warlord community, and I love doing little things like that give back to it. People ask me, why are you around so much? It's like, well, I work from home. I've got Discord up in one window. I'm working in the other window. I see the flags that come up on the Discord that say, hey, someone's got a question or wants to play a game and stuff. It's like, I'm always around. Yeah, I love the community. I love giving back to it and pushing it forward. And this is just another opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I guess I'll go next. First off, so we're trying to do some misdirection here. You can see the little image of a bunch of different Medusan Lords. We don't know who our preview card is for today yet, but unfortunately, Josh leads in the intro with a gender reveal. Apparently, it's a he. That's funny. Yeah, you said he earlier. Anyway, yeah, I'm Woodrow. I wanted to think I was a baby of the community, but I'm 4 years older than Josh. I got into Warlord through the demo decks as well in Dragon Magazine or Dungeon. I'm not sure which. It was my Dungeon Master that got it. I was in 5th grade or 6th grade or something like that at the time. And he bought some product. We started playing with it. Fell in love. All of our decks were like 120 cards each. I think I had like 120 card Sketh Hellbringer that I loved. It's my baby. I think a lot of us have those early on decks that we just just our babies. And played it, went to all the conventions, went to all the Gen Cons and the Origins, but was always kind of shy. I was there. I just didn't talk to anybody. I had my one friend that I went to the conventions with, and we would, play our opponents, too shy to really even chat with them, and then we'd go back and just talk to each other in the corner. So didn't really participate in the community throughout the years. But in 2018, somehow I was asked to help out with the Gen Con event. I think Carter didn't have time. Don wasn't coming. I forget what was going on with Greg. I think Greg wasn't coming, and he had done it a couple of years before that. And somehow I was kind of handed the reins. And
I thought you had been involved in the tourneys for longer than that.
No, I don't even know how it happened. Stuff happens like that. I just kind of fall into things, which we'll get into here in a little bit, because that's kind of how I ended up, and we all ended up working on this 20th anniversary thing. But yeah, so in 2018, I just wanted to do an event. I didn't really even know that much about running tournaments. If anybody remembers that event, there was all kinds of issues, logistics-wise, and we also didn't cut to a top 8. It wasn't proper, but we were worried about time. Anyway, that event was still a huge success. We went from 14 players a year before to 30-something, and the reason is because I pushed prize support. We made these playmats, which were huge. Shout out to Jason Engel, Drew Baker, everybody that helped with that. We gave out a ton of stuff, and shout out to everybody that donated for that, especially Chris Vack, Josh, myself. I might have thrown something in there, and it was a huge success. And then we did it again the next year. We grew again, and then I think it was 2019. We had 41 players, and we were the largest dead CCG, dead meaning out of published CCG event at Gen Con, at the whole convention, which is pretty cool. And then COVID hit, this last year, and Josh had already been in talks with the Untapped.in devs about getting Warlord on there, and it coincided perfectly. And we've been playing online since. I've been heavily involved in with the online stuff. I've been helping out to keep track of agents and keep it to where it's as open as possible, but also keep some of the obnoxious stuff down. And last year it was 2019. I was no, it was last year. Maybe last spring I started bugging Zinzer and Todd Roland to do something for Warlord's 20th anniversary. I was really obnoxious and loud about it. I was messaging them every month or so. Hey, you guys got to do something. Hey, don't let this. Hey, I want to start early if we're going to do something. Hey, here's some of my ideas. Hey, I've talked to some artists. I've got some prices on commission and this and that. And I had all these ideas, and I bugged them and I bugged them and I bugged them and I bugged them. And finally, toward the end of last year, they said, "Hey, Woodrow, look, will you relax, man? Hey, we're doing something. We're not going to let it slide. We're not going to just let this 20th anniversary roll past without doing anything. We're thinking about letting you inside of our cone of silence for the project." And I said, "Oh, okay, thank you." And then they ended up bringing me on, and a couple other people. It was myself, Laura, Scott, Richard Carter, Dan which I'm going to need your help, Vic, on Dan's last name. Like Dan the Man, Dan the meme man. I don't know Dan, but he's a. I probably should have written this down. Sorry, Dan, I forgot your last name. He's out of New York and owns a bunch of businesses. I think he's friends with Todd. Okay. Anyway, they brought a couple of us on to just kind of show us what they were working on. And when I saw the Medusan prequels, and you guys can chime in here, I was blown away. Like, this is the single coolest idea. Yeah. All the 100 ideas that I pitched to them pale in comparison. This is just the coolest thing.
Because you had talked to me some about, like, oh, I'm trying to get them to do something. Oh, I really want to do this, because we'll talk about this kind of stuff all the time, just in IMs, and you'd been like, oh, I really want them to do something, and then of course after
I had some cool ideas.
Yeah, this is way better.
Pale in comparison, and and so a lot of people I don't think know yet, but this idea actually came from like kind of a group brainstorm that none of us were involved in, but actually it was Arn and Ulsh's idea, and probably Florian as well. It was their idea to do these Medusan prequels. They were the ones that were like, let's do this. And obviously it was a hit because AEG went for it. And so, now I'll kind of explain how. So Arn and Ulsh had nailed it. They nailed out a bunch of designs. They kind of thrown stuff out there. Todd had thrown some designs out there, but they really needed some people to refine the ideas and develop them and make sure that they're ready to hit the press and
playtest. A lot of playtesting.
You'd be playtested.
Yeah.
So that's where Laura and Rich and I were brought on, and Rich is like, time is my enemy. I don't have a lot of it. You're welcome to what I have, but I really, playtesting and stuff, I'm not going to have a lot of time for that. Laura also super busy. And so, here I am. I kind of don't really have anybody to play test with. So I did one session with Arn, and his computer was on the fritz, and we were, 6 hours apart. And so I told Todd, hey, a couple things. One, I need people to play test with. And he said, okay, grab whoever you need, keep it small, and nobody say anything. You're all NDA'd. And so I said, well, I'm going to need. I immediately thought of Vic and Josh because Josh is super energetic and available, and I knew he'd make himself available for this. And I know he can keep secrets. And Vic, because I'm like, we're going to need the syntax guy. We need the rules syntax guy. There's no way. And we know Vic is available, and like you said, he's available up for stuff like this as well. And so I was like, that's probably as small as I can keep this team and still get a lot of reps in with these decks and with these cards. And so I guess I just kind of told your all's side of how you got brought on, but you guys are welcome to mention how you get. What was excited. What was it like getting the message from me? I think Vic, I was like kind of rude to you.
I was super pumped.
Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, I was clearly excited. I'm so excited to say it. I knew Woodrow had been trying to do stuff, but then to actually be brought into it and be involved with something that AEG was doing was, my dream. I've been wanting to do this kind of thing for years, and just being able to come in and throw my ideas into cards, play test the new cards, brainstorm cool mechanics, things like that. It was a dream come true.
Yeah. Woody and I had talked multiple times about conversations with Todd and ideas of how to do stuff for the community. Could we do anything on drive-through cards? Could we do anything with errata? Could we do anything with reprinting? And so, it was the communication was very goofy. The like in the hours and days leading up to the actual, hey, here's what we're actually doing. Because we sent me a message being like, stand by, or you're about to be brought into the cone of silence, and it's like, okay.
I messaged Vic and I said, stand by, and Vic goes, like, what the hell are you talking about, or something? Send me a message back. I said, I need you fucking standing by right now. And he was like, okay, but I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah.
So it's
what's funny for me is when we play tested, This was late November, the week before Thanksgiving, and then the first week of December. We used Untap, but we didn't want to make the mistake of putting the card images on Untap and have them accidentally be found. So we would do, well, this Warlord is kind of close in stats. I'll use them. But because there's 3 of us, we didn't turn off spectating.
Not always.
Which meant other people could bounce into the games. So I imagine there was more than once where somebody came in and saw me and Josh or me and Woody playing a game, and I'm playing the Sutek mercenary warlord in place of Bane.
This was Bane, yeah.
And they're probably watching like, wait a second, did he just use Call Verdatha without spending? What's going on here?
Why did he roll 3 times for when he attacked?
Where did the 3rd roll come from?
Maybe we need a new rules guy.
Or I think one time, why does the Chosen deck have a Nothrog as its warlord?
Yeah.
Because that was the person that was closest in stats to the end result.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Are you playing some sort of weird Kerberos or Traitor or something deck? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
There was a lot of nights where we played. I played like 6 or 8 hours in a row. Staying up until 2, 3, 4 a.m. Playing and talking, and just people popping in and out throughout our playtest sessions. Clueless. I mean, the card that we had on board made 0 sense.
Because we're sitting there, like, saying this is. I have a
feeling. This. Moving forward, it's not going to be so. We're going to have to be more careful if we ever get the opportunity to work on something again, because
now they'll know.
Now they'll know what happened.
But
also, spectating.
Anytime somebody sees me and Woody play, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what are they playing? Is it more cards?"
We're just not allowed to play anymore, I think.
Probably not.
At least publicly. But we do have a card we've been given. AG was gracious enough to grant us a card.
15 minutes of us blathering. We'll finally get to the card you've all been waiting for.
Yeah, exactly. This is a great way to make sure our story's heard. But yeah, we have a card today, and like Josh mentioned, it is a he. And so if you want to go ahead and pull it up, we can do the reveal. Let me know when it's up.
We're up.
None other than, many have guessed it correctly already. Master Assassin Seer.
Yep.
I'll just read his stats off real quick. I know he's on there for everybody to see, but +6/+6 attack, 16 AC, 5th level evil rogue, 8 skill, 3 hit points, elf, warlord, assassin, built-in stealth +0. How many warlords have built-in stealth, Vic?
2.
Trespass and Kasia.
2 others, and now we have a 3rd. During the draw phase, you have +1 hand size if you kept any cards when discarding, and react once per turn after Seer targets a ready character with a melee strike. The target must succeed with a fear save, DC 16, or become spent. And then in his flavor text, my parents will be avenged. Let's talk about Seer a little bit.
He's my baby.
Yeah. Josh had a lot to do with the end result here.
Yeah, we were trying to draw on, as much as possible anyway, when you're trying to make a warlord, we were trying to draw on the spirit of the Medusan Lords and kind of go from there. Well, we tried out so many kinds of things that were actually Seer, and doing additional wounds and Wii versions, and it really all was just too good, and it wasn't where we wanted to be. But I really wanted to do something with cards, and with drawing extra cards, looking at Black Knives and being like, oh, you draw 5 cards. Well, we kind of decided that was out. But this is nice because you end up so many times, if you're like a stabby rogue, you want to hold that backstab until later, or you want to, like, you get your, coup de grace or your assassinate too early. Like, you stealth in and you're spent. You can't perform a melee strike. But you want it for next turn, but then you're only going to have 4 cards next turn. This is your hidden scribe in order to deal with that kind of draws on the Black Knives ability a little bit, where you get extra cards when you draw your hand turn 2 on, if you're holding anything anyway, without a drawback, which is really nice.
Yeah, so you've lost a little bit of opportunity cost on the first turn by not playing the card, but you get to hold one card from turn to turn a little more easily.
And secretly, which is very important.
Yeah, it's like Secret Scribe, kind of.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good way of phrasing it.
And the react is something I have always wanted, and if you are a rogue player, you've probably also always wanted, which is the ability to spin someone during the target window. That's right. He can spin them and then play assassinate. It's assassination. It's
Marco Wellman.
You're welcome.
You were on our heart and our mind when we made this. We were thinking about you, bud.
I mean, it's a nice counterpoint to Bane. I mean, everyone's talked about since she came out. It's like, oh, that spend react is kind of weird, but everybody knows frontline fighter warlords. That's their biggest vulnerability. Is I lost initiative, I got killed before I could go off, or I've got an item I need to equip, but I really should attack because I won initiative, and she doesn't have to worry about that. And this is the reverse. This is, oh, it's so frustrating to be right there, have the equipment you need, have exactly what you need to take out the enemy warlord, and they're not spent, and they're not going to. They're just, they're going to do everything they can to stay ready and waste my turn or waste my opportunity or whatever. It's like, no, now against opposing warlords, DC 16, all of them without other modifications, because you are elves, you've got the Tybast and the Typharas, they have at least a 50-50 odds, if not better, of making the check. But it's still there. It's still something you can threaten them with. Everybody fears the one on Nimble Fingers, man. Everybody's going to be like, oh God, don't roll a 2. Don't roll a 2. I'm going to roll a 2. Or crap, I didn't roll a 2. I'm dead.
Yeah.
And that's going to be exciting.
Fear's a good word for it, too, because I like that we went with Fear Save over Poison. A lot of rogue stuff is poison, and I love the poison theme from 4E. But this is in the last second, in the battle or whatever, you see him, or from the comfort of your own home, you see him pop up, and you're afraid because you're facing potential, maybe probably certain death. So I like the flavor on that, and I love the flavor of the even though effectively, functionally, this is Scribe, just without a check, but the secret part of it is what makes it so cool. If your opponent, is jumping into your ranks, they've got Cloud Racer or whatever, and they're saving a card, maybe it's not assassination, but you have to assume it is. You have to, and you have to respect it. And they get to do that. Maybe it's a level 1 character that they just held because they're like, I'm not going to play it. I'm going to control. I'm going to mind control my opponent with that. I like that. And then
how many games have we all played on Untap or live where you're playing the rogue, and whether it's sniper or melee, and you've got one card left, and it's garbage, and they're just going, I pass. You've got one card left. I pass.
Can't do it.
Yeah, can't do it. Can't risk it. You can have any number of things that just kill me if I do anything other than pass.
Yeah,
exactly.
I like the Seer a lot. Hats off to Josh for essentially coming up with a text box. And then, the rest wasn't too hard to do. We kind of just looked at rogues throughout their history and what numbers made sense and, balance that against his abilities. We went with 6/6, a flat attack line, which isn't super usual for rogues. A lot of times they're small and then big, or big and then small. They're not usually across the board. But I mean, he looks to me like he's probably pretty good with either side of that, either one of his hands, either one of those knives. Looks like he can probably swap them around and, strike with either hand. So went with the 6/6 and, stealth +0, not free. That's not a free roll. As a stealth, you get a 0 stealth there, but it's there. And any skill boost will put him well over, Caribous Signet, a Helm of Vision. I'm trying to think in 4th edition what all there is. I mean, you probably just run Shadow Amulet or Token or whatever.
Altus Cloak is legal in 4th edition.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we actually mentioned, we definitely designed these with both 4th edition and Ancients in mind. So, to be playable in both.
We playtested
in both.
extensively in 4th edition, a ton of 4th edition. Yeah, and so we thought about that format. We didn't want to release something that would just disrupt that. Campaign and Epic, we didn't really playtest specifically for those editions, but we thought of, we teased out the idea of, what would these warlords look like? And actually, yeah, I can just to backtrack a little bit. When we were working on these cards, when we were developing them and redesigning and designing, we kind of had it on our hearts that these would be not for any particular stripe of the warlord community, but that they would be for everybody. And so we wanted these to be for 4th edition loyalists, because their 4th edition was fantastic. There are a lot of people who love it and it played exclusively, and so we wanted these to be for you. Ancients, exclusive players, and open people who like the crazy formats. We wanted to make sure these weren't going to disrupt those formats. So we did stuff like once per turn and spend to activate something. We wanted to make sure nothing was could be looped and break any of those formats. And then the other way that we wanted to make this for everybody is if you've only got 100 cards or 200 cards or 2 decks or whatever at home, these should be pretty straightforward warlords for you to pick them up, read them, identify a strategy, what they do, and then the gameplay should be pretty intuitive for you. So if you've kind of just dipped your toes into Warlord at some point, or you want to get into it, or you're a hyper fan of any particular format, all these cards should be for you. That we had you in mind.
Yep.
That's my spiel. It's for everybody.
Yeah.
That was a big thing when we were designing these. So if anybody sees it and is like, these are really good in 4E. They're meant to be, but they're not meant to break it. If anybody sees it like these aren't as good as this other card, this other Warlord and Ancients. Well, they weren't necessarily meant to be the top 1% of Ancients. Maybe top 20% in their faction, sure. But we wanted these to be for everybody. All that to say.
Right. Yep. Yeah, and interaction wise, what we've seen 2 items now. Well, we're recording this anyway. And we've seen his dagger. So and you can kind of see that there's a faction element for his dagger. And so for him especially, I mean, it's almost the perfect pairing. You can stealth in and then still strike, and it doesn't matter if they're ready, because you can spend them and then backstab them and then do 2 wounds or 3.
They can't reduce it.
And as everyone has acknowledged, I know Woody, you and Chris talked about it on Thursday. The dagger is level 5, and it's level 5 for that reason.
Yes.
And so we searched through all the level 5 other weapons and said, what is this competing with? It's level 5, not level 6, so it's not really competing with black steel daggers. But in some ways it needs to be not as good as black steel daggers, because black steel daggers can't be equipped in the opposing formation.
Right.
That's its number one drawback. You can't throw it on trespass or this guy, while you're in the opposing formation. This can, and so that was a driving factor.
It generates a strike, and in order to stealth into the opposing ranks, you've got to spend in. So if you're spent and you're able to jump to their second rank, and you've got that equipped, you get to spend it, and you get to shoot your shot that turn. Hopefully, you've saved a card that a backstab or an assassination or something to punish the orientation of the opposing warlord. So I think this is for all the people that have wanted the stealth and stab warlord for a long time. That's really good at it. I think this could be this.
It was
could be
on
the
purpose,
one.
everyone. Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, how many strike generation cards exist for rogues that can target someone that's not spent?
Yeah, just without looking it up, I'd say 0.
A couple. I don't think there's 0. I think there's 1 or 2. There's but
there's another weapon that does it. There's an action that only works if you're in the opposing formation that does it.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, it's count on one hand kind of.
Yeah, it's very limited, and we definitely play tested that item on trespass, and it was super fun. You go in there, you strike with it. You got your stuff. I mean, it's nice. It's a good time.
So let's zoom out. There's Seer, everybody. But let's zoom out and just talk about just our perception of the project as a whole and the other spoilers. And I don't know. Just talk about the 20th anniversary set before we close.
Well, first of all, I just love that Todd came along and was willing to do this. I mean,
Yes.
Arn and Oliver coming up with the idea and putting it out there, and we've seen the final version of everything, and it is no spoiler to say Todd and Jod did a nice job of putting those guys at the top of the credits list. This was their initial idea. They came to AG and said, "Let's do this," and total props to them for following up on it. Everybody in the online community was aware that this was the 20th year and hoping, and so it's just really cool to see them following up and putting something out there, and then for it to be this, where it's a callback to the history of the game. It's all these great memories and references. We've got the Jonah the Burglar quote.
That was my
for that
specific request. Yeah.
shtick where he died in every story that was ever told about him, kind of thing. So he's the idea that he's the shrunken head. All of that, and then to have what we have. We've got a warlord per faction. We've got an item that ties to that warlord, in some way to boost that faction, but also be completely playable with other cards and other decks and everything else. I think the whole thing is fabulous.
This is, I think, as much as anything. So obviously, this isn't the relaunch of the game. This isn't the rebirth. It's not the game coming back. We're going to ask, and it's okay to ask. Everybody's going to ask. We're all going to beg for it. We're going to, we're going to send them our business models and stuff and our business cards and say, hey, let's do this. Let's go. Let's use this momentum. But they've said, multiple times, they continue to say it. This isn't the reboot of Warlord, but they're giving us something that the community has craved for years and years and years and years and years, which is validation, recognition, and they're doing it in like the coolest way possible at a price point that is so accessible. We weren't we didn't get to talk about the prices or anything, but we mentioned that I was like, this thing could cost $50. I was just talking among ourselves, and I think anybody would buy it, but they didn't go that route. $20 is very accessible. A couple of people have compared this to Magic's Secret Lair, which obviously isn't as big of a game as Magic, but that's like $50 to $100 for like 5 cards. This is $20 for 19 cards. It's pretty good. $1 a card. You buy a Warlord on a secondary market on eBay or something right now, it's going to be at least like $3. Yeah. Well, more like $2 to $100. But anyway, the point being, it's not. You can't even buy existing product that tons of it exists for this price point. So this is just cool. I love this. Isn't a gift in the sense that it's not totally free. They can't just AG still a company. They can't just, hey, tell us if you're a fan of Warlord. We'll mail you one of these for free. But I feel like the $20 price point is accessible for a reason, and I'm appreciative of it, and just their willingness to finally deal with this frenzied pack of nerds that are they're begging for recognition. They're giving it to us, and I'm excited. It sounds like John Zinzer has a bunch of more blog posts that are coming out throughout the year discussing Warlord.
Excited about that.
I'm brainstorming some ways that we can do some community stuff other than just online events. And then we have the online events. This is going to be a good year for Warlord, the best in a long time. And I'm so excited that we get this product to be able to purchase. And so go out and do it. It's a short window. So
do not sleep on that first week of February.
No. And I mean, we'll remind you in the Discord. We'll remind you in the Facebook. But order these and maybe order a couple extras, because you might have some friends that you suddenly start playing with, reconnect with, and they want them, and or maybe want to teach them.
That it's the 5-day window, and they will only print to match their orders. Yeah. And they're putting a limit on how many people can buy.
Yeah.
But that limit is probably not going to be 2 or 3. It's going to be 5 or 10. Right. So it'll be interesting to see how many people just max out with the idea of, hey, in 5 years, I'm going to have 3 new people playing the game, and I will give them out. Mm-hmm. Or, in another year, I'm going to put them on eBay and see if I can double my
We're all
money.
talking about prize support. We're like, how many can we
Yeah.
get so we can give them away in tournaments in future
Yeah.
years?
Every one of the Guardians of the Storm is talking about buying either at least a playset for themselves. A couple people have said, but a lot of people said they're going to just max it out and keep it for prize support. And
Yeah.
Yep.
you know, yeah.
Yep.
So we're all going all in on this. You know, I don't think they've said anything about sending us like a free copy because we worked on it or something. But even if they would, I would be like, no, I'm not interested. I'd really rather just buy the max.
Yeah.
I believe in this product. I think it's pretty cool. And yeah, I think I'm ready to celebrate the 20th anniversary with everybody throughout this year.
For sure.
Yeah.
You
Well,
want to wrap us up?
yeah, I think I'll go ahead and wrap us up. Great in talking at you guys. We were excited to do this for everyone. That's why we all did it. We did it for the community, a little bit for ourselves, but we definitely we're driving as we wanted to give back, and we wanted to try and make sure everyone's voice was heard. I think all three of us try and hear the voice of the community as much as possible. We try and stay involved. We try and think about what other people are asking about, wanting about, and so we hope that's reflected in our designs. If you don't feel that way, great. You're welcome to tell us, and we will choose whether or not to listen. But yeah, we just wanted to give a big thank you to AEG. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Zinzer, for letting us do this. We were all, yes, and Arn and Olsh and everyone who had any part. Carter, Laura. Thank you for helping us through these designs, helping us brainstorm, helping us do everything.
Greg Melnick.
Greg Melnick did help with all the story, with the quotes and the naming to make sure everything was as story appropriate as possible. And so, thank you for.
And more than one to say, no, really, Seer is spelled this way, not that way.
Yeah. Well, everyone spells that wrong.
Some of those spellings.
Yeah, definitely some hard spellings in there. But anyway, I think that'll wrap us up. So everyone, just remember that. Macusog Cavalry busted.